Hey, it's Don. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about lessons hopefully learned from what we're experiencing right now. One of the biggest ones that I can tell you that I've been preaching since day one is to always have backups for everything. And that includes having backstock. Hopefully a death pile, a dead stock, or something like that. Those terms will be a thing of the past. It's backstock. You always have to have means to back up. Now, even if it wasn't what's going on now with the pandemic, let's say you broke your foot. You broke your leg or something. What are you going to do if you can't source? You can't drive for 6-8 weeks and you have nobody to drive you around that's going to spend the time to take you around these places. Yeah, you can walk on crutches or something, but what if it's worse than that? What if you're sick? What if you have something wrong? How are you going to be able to go out and get new products? You know, having extra products in the back is wonderful. I mean, that is just a super feeling to know that you don't have a thing to worry about. Having backstock, having extras of everything. Now, you got to do this smart. You can't just go out and buy a whole bunch of things, you know, and sit on them if you can't afford to do that. I mean, your goal should be to have enough funds to have extra stuff sitting around, or buying big lots of things for, you know, a couple $100, sell a couple things out of that, get your money back, get some profit, and then some of the other stuff may sit around while you go out and buy new stuff and list new items. That's how you build up a backstock. It's not bad. A lot of people call it hoarding. It's not hoarding if it's just for the business, if it's stuff that will sell. Now, our backstock doesn't include anything that won't be worth messing with. If it's a bunch of stuff and it's just not worth selling, I either trash it, I'll take it to a local auction or something along that line. I may list an ad occasionally on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace and get rid of the items that way. I don't keep anything around that's just not worth selling. But all of the rest of this stuff is done with us buying big bulk lots of things, listing some, get my money back right away. I mean, most of the time, just in a few days, I've got all of my money back and I'm on a profit. So at that point, I can afford to keep stuff sitting in the back, not worry about it. I've talked about a 90-day plan, which is what we do. We have way longer of a plan than that in some items. 90-day for us means anything we get in a certain time frame may sit there for 90 days as usual until I get, like, say, more of that same item. Or if I'm in mass season, I'm purchasing left and right, I'm going to stick some stuff aside that say Detroit postcards or Detroit collectibles or certain things like that. I'll get a bunch of marbles in. I may wait a month or two to see if I get more marbles in, or Mark's Toys or anything like that where you can put better lots together. Or you can list multiple listings in the same category to draw, you know, multiple purchases from the same person. That's a big, huge plus because for them, they save in postage, and for you, you don't have to mess with it either. It's one package versus 2 or 3 packages. So it's a no-brainer. Now, we do charge for shipping, so for us, the shipping isn't that much of a deal. It's just our time. It does save the customers money, and they see the value in something like that if they're buying 3 or 4 items. But if you're just doing one-offs all the time, you're never going to be able to get these opportunities to get, you know, items sold to the same person, multiples. And just like when you send out advertisements and cards and things like that in your packages that go out, it's not going to be super helpful if you don't sell or they don't collect those same types of things. The odds of you having something exactly what they want, if they're not a collectible or it's just some random items, isn't very good. So all around, you know, selling to the same person multiple lots is always a good thing in my book. It's increased our money for sure. And those same folks keep returning month after month after month. We've had the same customers for 4 and 5 years now, maybe probably longer than that. I just hadn't paid attention probably until 5 or 6 years ago when we started to keep track of those. So it's just not a dead stock, a dead pile. The importance of backing up everything, just like having a BOP. And again, I'm not going to go back into a BOP, but that's basically a business owner's policy that can protect you from losses. If you're not going to have that, you need to have some way to still gain revenue when something happens. And having a bunch of backstock is always a good thing. Brick and mortar stores have done it for the existence of brick and mortar stores. I learned that lesson from working in corporate America with, you know, brick and mortar facilities. So I've always done my reselling business the same way when I was able to. Now, it's taken us time to get to this point, but that should be your goal, to have backups of everything. You know, when you get to a certain point, if you do get injured, you know, take aside the pandemic, a broken leg, even if you have insurance, it's not going to cover lost wages or the lack of ability to get out. It's not going to cover any of that unless you have something extra. You're self-employed. You need to have something else because the only form of revenue coming in is what you make doing your business as a reseller. And if you can't resell, I don't know what you're going to do. That would be something that would worry me to death if I didn't have a BOP and backups on almost everything. If I have a tape dispenser, I have 2 of them. If I have, tape, I make sure I have tons of tape here. If I go down below a case of tape, 36 rolls of tape, I order at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 more at a time. So everything I do, paper, envelopes, poly bags, everything, I have a stock of everything. If it gets below a certain point, I order more. I take an inventory of what I have. This is all tied into doing this. Having a backstock inventory is always good. You can't go wrong. Now, one other thought on here, which is something that I've been asked many times, is, how do I get all of the merchandise that I sell? Because we have, a couple $1 million probably in backstock that I haven't listed. Now, you can see by looking at just the store I share with you that we've got $750,000 in cost on inventory in there. So that's just what I have listed up. To get this much in, I've got people that pick for me is part of the way I can get this. So I'm not worrying about just me sourcing everything for my business. I buy it from other people. Now, the other question I get when we talk about pickers is, how the heck did you get a picker? Now, I will give you the most important things you can do to get somebody like that. The ones that I have came from Craigslist and flea markets and establishments like that. Regular places where you run into or talk to people. The biggest one is to not be cheap when you first meet people. Don't ever be cheap. Don't ever try to undercut them. Give them a fair, honest, and decent price for whatever you get from them. One of the other things I will say is always be there when you tell them you are going to be there. Be there 5 or 10 minutes early every single time. Don't ever be late. Don't ever make them wait when you're first getting together with them. Don't ask for too much. Don't be pushy. Just go with what you're buying right there. You can ask if they have other items, but if they say anything about, hey, I do that for somebody else, or whatever the case may be, end of story. Don't ever, ever, ever push something. What's happened with us, with our pickers, is through the times of us, dealing with these folks for years, other people disappointed them. So over time, I've gained more and more items that they go. Some of them now just call me first for everything. And if I pass on it, then they call the other folks. One other thing I should say is if you're going out there, I always try to buy something. Always try to make it worth their while. Offer them, say, $20 for their time. Time is money. You can express that to them. You appreciate the fact that they took the time out to show you these items. Be gracious with it. That's the only way this works. If you're pushy, you ask for too much, you don't take no for an answer, you argue over their prices, that could be no the very first visit you get them, and you'll never get anything else from them again, or they'll call you last when they have no other resort. There's not a problem with haggling a little bit, but friendly haggling. You need to make sure that you're giving them what they feel is comfortable. Now, if you want to come back and counter one of your pickers' offers, my best experience with this is to give them a reason why you don't think it's worth it. They don't sell for that much. They're very common. There's some damage, whatever the case may be. But be fair and honest with those sorts of folks. If, say, they offer me something and it's worth a ton of money and they offer it to me for almost nothing, I always try to give them some more money for it too. Now, it lets them know when you do stuff like that you're not just out there to rip them off. Many times I've paid well over what the initial offer was and let them know why and let them know what it should sell for. Now, even in other cases where I didn't realize something was worth as much, it sells for some phenomenal money, I've given them money the next time I saw them for stuff like that. Treat them as a partner with you. Treat them as someone who's in your circle that's out there to help you as well. So you got to take care of them. This is a great way if you can get people like that, people that are constantly posting ads on Craigslist all the time. Those are the sorts of people that you'll find on Facebook, at the flea markets, and all that sort of thing. Now, one other thing to think about when all of this is said and done and we're able to go back out, there's going to be a ton of sales, estate sales, and people trying to get rid of a lot of merchandise that came in to make some money. People are going to want to bring money back in because, of course, they couldn't make an income for some cases a couple of months, so they're going to need income. So you're going to see a lot of stuff coming up. It's going to be fairly cheap to buy some items. There'll be a lot of people selling. So this is a perfect time to invest what money you do have into buying good stuff, not just junk inventory, so you have some form of backup, so you're not going to be worrying about sourcing all the time. Getting one-offs all the time is just not practical. Driving around and hoping to find something is also just not practical. So the bottom line is that you will need to figure out how to bring more merchandise in to do this. That should be your goal. That should be what you're looking forward to. As I said, I do invest a lot of money into inventory. 4 digits a day is nothing into buying certain things if I am out and finding good stuff. You have to work up to a point where you can do that. That's when you can get it sustainable. That's when it keeps flowing. That's when stuff starts to work, or at least it did for us. But that's what I have for you today. Hopefully that gave you some ideas and some thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
My name is Teddy Ruxpin. Can you and I be friends? I really...
Everybody out!
Then, one day, we found an old treasure map.
Teddy Ruxpin from Worlds of Wonder.
Batteries not included.